The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent. 47 different alien species sat in their seats, all watching one creature at the center of the room. Ambassador Veltar stood alone, his blue skin shining under the bright lights. His tentacles moved slowly as he spoke. "You do not know what you are doing," Veltar said. His voice was deep and worried. "The humans are not what you think they are." Around the hall, aliens from many worlds made sounds of anger and disbelief. Some had sharp teeth, others had many eyes, and a few looked like giant insects. But they all agreed on one thing: humans were weak. Council Speaker Tessara was the largest alien in the room. She looked like a giant ant with golden armor. The voice was loud and sharp when she spoke. "The humans are young and stupid. Our spies tell us they still use old rockets and do not understand real science." Veltar's tentacles twisted with worry. He had met humans before, 50 years ago. His people went to their solar system to mine rocks from asteroids. Something went wrong, very wrong. The humans helped them, but Veltar saw something in their eyes that scared him. "You think their cities are small," Veltar continued. "You think their weapons are weak, but you are making a big mistake." General Mordok laughed. He was a large lizard-like creature with red scales and sharp claws. "My ships alone can destroy their whole planet in just a few days. They have nothing that can stop us." More laughter filled the hall. The aliens thought this was funny. How could such a young race be dangerous? Humans had only been in space for a short time. They lived on one small planet and a few tiny colonies. The Galactic Council controlled thousands of worlds. Veltar tried again. "Listen to me. I have seen what they call war. I have watched how they fight. They do not give up. Ever they learn fast. They change. They adapt." "Adapt to what?" asked Commander Zilkas, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish. "We have weapons that can crack planets. We have shields that can stop their best attacks. What can they do?" Veltar was quiet. For a moment, he remembered the human ship that came to help his people. It was small and looked simple. But when space pirates attacked, that little human ship did something impossible. It should have been destroyed in seconds. Instead, it fought for 3 hours and won. "They think different than us," Veltar said slowly. "We follow rules. We use science the right way. We build things the way they should be built. Humans, ... They break rules. They make things work when they should not work. They find ways to win when winning should be impossible." The hall became noisy again. Aliens were talking to each other, making their different sounds of disagreement. They did not want to hear this. Council Speaker Tessara hit the floor with her staff. The sound was loud and everyone became quiet. "Ambassador Veltar, we have heard enough. The humans have resources we need. They have metals, water, and energy sources that belong in our control. They will give us what we want, or we will take it." "But why fight them?" Veltar asked. "We can trade. We can make deals. Humans like to trade. They are good at making agreements." "Because we do not need to trade," said General Mordok. "Why pay for something when you can just take it? They are too weak to stop us." Veltar looked around the hall. Every alien face showed the same thing they had already decided. The vote was just a show. They wanted war. "How long do we give them to surrender?" asked Admiral Corthan, a tall, thin creature with 4 arms. "1 day," said Tissera. "That is enough time for them to understand they cannot win." Veltar's tentacles went still. He knew it was over. "You are making the biggest mistake in galactic history," he said quietly. "The only mistake," said General Mordok, "would be letting them live after they refused to surrender." The vote was quick. 46 species voted for war. Only Veltar's people voted against it. The decision was made. In 3 days, the largest war fleet in galactic history would travel to human space. They would demand surrender. When the humans refused, the aliens would destroy them. As the meeting ended, aliens began to leave. They were talking excitedly about the coming war. Some were already planning how to divide up human territory. Veltar stayed in his seat. He was thinking about the human commander he met 50 years ago. The human's name was Kehoe. He was older now, probably leading their defense forces. Kehoe had kind eyes, but there was something else there. Something that made Veltar's skin feel cold. During the crisis 50 years ago, when pirates attacked both human and alien ships, Kehoe did something strange. Instead of running away or asking for help, he studied the pirates. He watched how they fought. He learned their weaknesses. Then he shared this information with everyone, even the aliens. "Why help us?" Veltar had asked. "We are strangers too." Kehoe smiled. "Because today we are on the same side. But if we ever become enemies, I want you to remember that we could have been friends." Now Veltar understood what Kehoe meant. The humans knew this day would come. They knew that someday someone would try to conquer them, and they had been getting ready. Veltar walked to his private communication room. He sent a message to his home world. The message was simple but frightening. "Mark this day in history. Today the galaxy chose to wake up something that should have stayed sleeping. The Council has voted for war with the humans. May the ancestors help us all." Far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, alarms began to ring. Deep space sensors had detected the alien fleet gathering at the edge of the galaxy. Admiral Kehoe, now much older but still sharp, stood in his command center. Around him, humans worked quickly at their stations. "How long do we have?" asked Captain Dayun, his second in command. 3 days until they arrive, Kehoe replied. "Maybe less." Dayun nodded. "Should we send the message to all colonies?" Kehoe looked at the star map showing human settlements scattered across many solar systems. They looked small and weak compared to the alien empire, but looks could be very deceiving. "Send the message," Kehoe said. "Tell them the time has come. 50 years of preparation. Now we find out if it was enough." As the message spread across human space, something began to happen. Things that looked like simple mining stations started to move. Ships that appeared to be cargo haulers began to change. Weapons that had been hidden for decades powered up for the first time. The aliens thought they were attacking a young, weak species. They were about to learn that humans had been expecting them for a very long time. The war was coming, and humanity was ready. 3 days later, the alien fleet arrived at the edge of human space. It was the largest war fleet ever seen in the galaxy. Over 3,000 ships floated in perfect formation, their dark holes blocking out the stars. Each ship was massive, covered in weapons and armor that could destroy entire cities. General Mordok stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet ahead. Earth looked so peaceful and helpless. A few tiny human ships moved between the planets, but they were so small they looked like insects. "This will be easy," Mordok said to his officers. "I almost feel sorry for them." Admiral Corthan's ship floated nearby. Through the communication system, his voice sounded excited. "Our sensors show they have maybe 50 ships in this entire system. We have 3,000. This is not even a real fight." Council Speaker Tessara watched from her command ship. She was pleased with how everything looked. The human colonies were small and scattered. Their ships were tiny. Their weapons looked old and weak. This would be over quickly on Earth's moon. Admiral Kehoe stood in the lunar base command center. The room was full of screens showing the alien fleet. His officers worked quietly at their stations. Captain Dayun stood beside him, her face calm but serious. "They are trying to scare us with their numbers," Dayun said quietly. Kehoe nodded. "Let them think it is working." Lieutenant Wu Jin, the tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Sir, they are sending a message to Earth. Put it on all channels," Kehoe ordered. "Every human in the system should hear this." The alien message appeared on every screen on Earth, every space station, and every human ship. General Mordok's ugly face filled the displays. His red scales looked dark in the light, and his yellow eyes were full of pride. "Humans of the third planet," Mordok's voice was loud and threatening. "You can see our fleet. We are here to take control of your worlds. You have 1 day to surrender completely. Give up now, and some of you will be allowed to live. Fight us, and you will all die. Choose wisely." The message ended. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then Kehoe stepped forward. He activated the response system that would send his words to the alien fleet in every human settlement in the solar system. "This is Admiral Kehoe of the Terra Defense Force," he said. His voice was calm and strong. "We have received your message. We have seen your fleet. Our answer is simple." "No." Kehoe paused, then continued. "You came here thinking we would be afraid. You thought we would surrender without a fight. You were wrong. This is our home. These are our worlds, and we will defend them." The aliens in the fleet laughed when they heard this. How could such a weak species talk so boldly? "Did they not count our ships?" asked Admiral Corthan. "Maybe they cannot count that high," joked General Mordok. But Kehoe was not finished. "You want to see what humans can do? Let us show you." Captain Dayun pressed a button on her control panel. Across the solar system, things began to change. What looked like simple mining stations near the asteroid suddenly moved in ways that stations should not move. They turned toward the alien fleet and showed weapons that were much larger than they should be. Lieutenant Wu Jin coordinated with Major Haijin on Earth. She was in charge of the planet's defense systems. But these were not the satellites that the aliens could see from space. These were hidden systems built deep under the oceans and inside mountains. "Phase 1 is ready," Major Haijin reported. On the alien flagship, an officer looked at his sensors with confusion. "Sir, I am reading strange energy signatures from those mining stations." "What kind of energy?" General Mordok asked. I do not know, sir. The readings do not match anything in our databases." Mordok was not worried. "Fire warning shots at their closest ships. Show them what real weapons can do." The alien fleet fired. Bright beams of energy crossed space toward the small human patrol ships. The aliens expected to see the human vessels explode immediately. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships absorbed the energy beams. Their hulls glowed for a moment, then the same energy shot back at the alien fleet. 3 alien destroyers exploded in balls of fire and metal. The alien fleet stopped moving. Every alien officer stared at their screens in shock. How was this possible? The humans had turned their own weapons against them. What just happened? Admiral Corthan asked, his voice shaking. On lunar base, Kehoe allowed himself a small smile. "Lieutenant Commander Taemin, you may begin the counterattack." Taemin was the commander of the battleship Seoul, which looked like a simple cargo hauler to alien sensors. "Yes, sir. All ships, execute Plan Alpha." Across the solar system, human ships that had appeared to be cargo vessels, mining equipment, and research stations suddenly revealed their true nature. Weapon ports opened along their hulls. Energy shields that should not exist on such primitive ships began to glow. The soul fired first. A beam of pure energy, more powerful than anything the aliens thought humans could build, struck General Mordok's flagship. The massive alien ship's shields failed instantly. The beam cut through the hull like a knife through paper. Impossible, Mordok screamed as his ship began to explode around him. Their technology is not advanced enough for this, but the impossible kept happening. Human ships moved faster than they should be able to move. Their weapons hit harder than physics should allow. Their armor absorbed attacks that should have destroyed them completely. Commander Yuri led a squadron of human fighters against a group of alien cruisers. Her ships were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but they moved like they were alive. They dodged between the larger ships, striking weak points that the aliens did not know they had. "How are you doing this?" an alien captain asked during a brief communication. Yuri's voice came back clear and confident. "We cheat. We have always cheated. While you followed your rules, we learned to break them." The truth was starting to become clear to the aliens. Everything they thought they knew about human technology was wrong. The primitive ships, the simple weapons, the weak defenses, it was all fake. The humans had been hiding their real capabilities. Ensign Sora, the communications officer, intercepted alien messages as their fleet tried to reorganize. The aliens were confused and scared. They could not understand how humans were winning. "Their commanders are starting to panic," she reported to Key-Ho. Key-Ho nodded. "Good. Fear makes enemies make mistakes." The space battle spread across the entire solar system near Jupiter. The human mining stations revealed themselves to be massive weapon platforms. They fired quantum torpedoes that did not just destroy alien ships, they made them disappear completely, as if they had never existed. Near Mars, human colonies that looked defenseless suddenly showed that their domes were really shield generators, powerful enough to protect entire planets. When alien bombers tried to attack the surface, their weapons simply bounced off. Admiral Corthan watched his fleet falling apart around him. Half of his ships were already destroyed or disabled. The humans were not just winning, they were winning easily. "Retreat," he ordered all ships. "Pull back to safe distance." But there was no safe distance. Human ships followed the retreating aliens, picking off stragglers with weapons that seemed to get stronger with each shot fired. Council Speaker Tessara could not believe what she was seeing. The mighty Galactic Council fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was being defeated by a species they thought was primitive. "How is this possible?" she asked her science officer. The officer, a small gray creature with large eyes, checked his instruments again. "Their technology, it is not following our scientific laws. They are doing things that should not work." On lunar base, Key-Ho watched the alien fleet retreating in disorder, but he knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would regroup and come back with more ships and better plans. "Captain Dayun," he said, "send a message to all human colonies and ships. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. Now we prepare for Phase 2. Dayun smiled. "What should we tell them about the alien fleet?" Key-Ho looked at the stars where the alien ships were disappearing into hyperspace, running away from the humans they had come to conquer. "Tell them the galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten humanity's home." The alien fleet regrouped at a safe distance from Earth, but nothing felt safe anymore. General Mordok sat in his damaged command chair, looking at reports that made no sense. In just 6 hours, the humans had destroyed over 800 alien ships and damaged twice as many more. "How many ships do we have left that can still fight?" he asked his officers. "Less than 2,000, sir," replied his tactical officer. "And many of those need repairs." Admiral Corthan's face appeared on the communication screen. His ship was badly damaged, with burn marks across its hull. "General, we need to pull back completely. The humans are not what we expected." But General Mordok was angry and embarrassed. "No, we have the largest fleet in galaxy history. We cannot be beaten by one small planet." What the aliens did not know was that the humans were just getting started. Deep in space, far from Earth, other human ships were already moving. These were not the defense forces that had just beaten the alien fleet. These were the attack forces. Captain Sujin commanded a group of ships that looked like simple trading vessels. For 20 years they had traveled throughout the galaxy, visiting alien worlds and learning their secrets. The aliens thought they were just human merchants buying and selling goods. They were wrong. "All ships, this is Captain Sujin," she said into her communicator. "Operation Payback begins now. You know your targets." Across the galaxy, human ships that had been pretending to be traders suddenly revealed their true purpose. They began attacking alien supply bases, communication stations, and military shipyards. The aliens had no idea these ships were even there. On the Saurian homeworld, Major Irie worked with local humans who had been living there for years. The aliens thought they were just immigrants looking for work. In reality, they were intelligence agents who had been mapping every military installation and weak point. "The main power plant is here," Irie said, pointing to a map. "If we shut it down, their entire defense grid will fail." The attack was swift and precise. Within hours, the Saurian homeworld was in darkness. Their mighty space fleet could not return home because they had no way to refuel or repair their ships. Commander Hien Wu led the assault on the Krillian shipyards. These were the factories that built most of the alien fleet's warships. Hien Wu's ships had been disguised as cargo haulers, delivering supplies to the shipyards for months. Now they will see what we were really delivering, Hien Wu said, as his ships opened fire. The weapons hidden inside the cargo activated. The shipyards exploded in chains of fire that could be seen from space. Years of alien ship construction were destroyed in minutes. Back at Earth, Admiral Kehoe watched reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every few minutes, another alien military base was destroyed. Every hour, another alien fleet was trapped without supplies or support. Sir, said Lieutenant Wu Jin, we are receiving surrender requests from 12 different alien colonies. Tell them we will accept their surrender, Kehoe replied. But only if they provide information about other alien military positions. Captain Dayun looked at the galaxy map. Red dots showed where human forces were attacking. There were hundreds of them, spread across dozens of star systems. How long have we been planning this? She asked. Kehoe smiled grimly. Since the day we first detected alien radio signals. We knew that someday someone would try to conquer us. We decided to make sure we were ready. The truth was even more impressive than the aliens imagined. For 50 years, while appearing to be a peaceful, primitive species, humans had been preparing for galactic war. Every space mission, every colony ship, every trade agreement had been part of a massive military plan. The generation ships that left Earth decades ago were not just carrying settlers, they were mobile battle stations positioned at key points throughout the galaxy. When the war began, they revealed weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The research stations that humans had built in neutral space were actually intelligence-gathering posts. They had been watching and recording alien military movements for decades. The mining operations and asteroid fields were really weapons factories, producing advanced ships and weapons far from alien eyes. Director Minsu, the head of Earth's secret military planning, finally revealed the truth to the galaxy. His message was broadcast to every alien world. You thought you were attacking a young, weak species, he said. But we have been watching you for 50 years. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears. We know which of your planets are important and which are not. We know where your leaders live and where your children go to school. The message was terrifying in its implications. The humans had not just prepared to defend themselves. They had prepared to win so completely that no alien species would ever threaten them again. On the Hive world, Council Speaker Tassara watched her mighty empire crumble. Human attacks had cut off supply lines, destroyed military bases, and left her fleet stranded in empty space. How could we have been so wrong? She asked her advisors. They fooled us completely, replied her intelligence chief. Every human we thought was a peaceful trader was actually a spy. Every human colony we thought was weak was actually a military base. The war that was supposed to last days had become a disaster that would last months. But it was not really a war anymore. It was a demonstration of human power and planning. 3 months after the first battle, the galaxy was in chaos. Human forces had spread to every corner of civilized space, striking targets with precision that suggested decades of preparation. The alien species that had once ruled the galaxy were now fighting for their survival. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting, but this time it was very different from their confident gathering 3 months earlier. Many species were not represented because their governments had collapsed. Others attended only to beg for mercy. Ambassador Veltar stood before the remaining delegates. His warnings 3 months ago had come true in ways even he had not imagined. The humans have taken control of the Nexus trade routes, he reported. Without those routes, most of our worlds cannot get the supplies they need to survive. The Nexus trade routes were the highways of the galaxy. They connected every major world and made galactic civilization possible. Now they belonged to humanity. General Mordok, his uniform torn and his pride broken, had to admit defeat. My fleet is destroyed. The few ships I have left are trapped in the outer rim with no fuel and no supplies. My homeworld is under human occupation, added Admiral Corthan. They are not cruel, but they are very clear about who is in charge now. This was the most frightening thing about the human victory. They were not destroying alien worlds or enslaving alien populations. Instead, they were taking control of everything that mattered: the trade routes, the military bases, the communication networks, the supply lines. Captain Sujin now commanded a fleet of over 500 ships. She sent a message to the alien leaders: we do not want to rule your people. We want to make sure you can never threaten us again. The humans were offering a choice. Alien species could join the new order and be protected, or they could continue fighting and be destroyed. Most chose to surrender. Commander Yuri led the human fleet that surrounded the Saurian capital. The lizard-like aliens had been the most aggressive in pushing for war with humanity. Now their mighty empire was helpless. We surrender, said the Saurian emperor. What are your terms? Yuri's answer was broadcast across the galaxy. Your military will be reduced to police forces only. Your weapons factories will be converted to peaceful use. Your leaders will be replaced by people who understand that humans are not enemies to be conquered. The message was clear. The galaxy would be rebuilt, but it would be built according to human rules. On Earth, Lieutenant Commander Taman, now promoted to Admiral, oversaw the construction of massive new space stations. These were not hidden like the old human bases. They were visible symbols of human power, built at important locations throughout the galaxy. "How many stations will we need?" asked his chief engineer. "Enough to make sure that every alien world can see at least one," Taman replied. "We want them to remember what happens when someone threatens humanity." The humans had learned an important lesson from their victory. It was not enough to win a war. You had to win it so completely that no one would ever want to fight you again. Director Minsu explained this to the reformed Galactic Council. "We could have stayed on our small planet and defended ourselves, but that would have meant living in fear, always wondering when the next attack would come. Instead, we chose to make sure there would never be another attack." The plan was working. Across the galaxy, alien species were adapting to the new reality. Human technology, no longer hidden, was clearly superior to anything the aliens had ever developed. Human tactics had proven unbeatable. Human planning had shown a level of strategic thinking that the aliens could not match. More importantly, the humans had shown that they could be generous winners. Alien worlds that cooperated with the new order found themselves more prosperous than ever before. Human technology improved their lives. Human protection kept them safe from the pirates and raiders that had always threatened the galaxy. But for those who still resisted, the consequences were severe. Commander Hyenwu led the final assault on the last holdout, a military fortress that refused to surrender. "You have 1 hour to give up," he told the alien commanders. "After that, we will demonstrate why resistance is pointless." The fortress was defended by the most advanced weapons the aliens had ever built. It should have been able to hold out 4 months against any attack. The humans destroyed it in 37 minutes. The weapons they used were beyond anything the aliens had imagined. Energy beams that could cut through any armor. Missiles that could think for themselves and find any target. Shields that could protect entire planets as the fortress burned. The last alien resistance finally understood what they were facing. The humans had not just been preparing for war. They had been preparing for the kind of war that would end all wars. The galaxy belonged to humanity now. 1 year after the failed alien invasion, the galaxy was a very different place. Human ships patrolled the major trade routes, keeping them safe from pirates and raiders. Human stations provided refueling and repair services to any ship that needed them. Human technology was improving life on thousands of worlds. Admiral Kehoe stood on the observation deck of Titan Station, humanity's first major embassy in neutral space. The massive structure was both a symbol of human power and a center of galactic government. Through the transparent walls, he could see ships from dozens of species coming and going peacefully. "The Saurian ambassador is here for the trade negotiations," Captain Dayun reported. "And the Hive World representatives want to discuss the new defense agreements." Kehoe nodded. The aliens were learning to work with humans instead of against them. It was better for everyone. The new Galactic Council met in human space now, in a great hall built inside Titan Station. The old council had been dominated by threats and fear. The new council focused on cooperation and mutual benefit. Director Minsu addressed the assembled alien delegates. 1 year ago, you came to our world thinking you were superior. You have learned that true strength comes not from the size of your fleet, but from the wisdom of your plans. The aliens listened respectfully. They had learned to respect human wisdom the hard way. Ambassador Veltar, now serving as the main go-between for humans and aliens, reflected on how much had changed. The old galaxy was ruled by fear and competition. Species fought each other for resources and territory. The new galaxy is ruled by cooperation and shared prosperity. It was true. Under human leadership, the galaxy was more peaceful and prosperous than it had ever been. The trade routes were safe. Scientific knowledge was shared freely. Conflicts between species were resolved through negotiation instead of war. But everyone understood that this peace existed because humanity had the power to enforce it. Captain Su Jin, now in charge of galactic security, commanded a fleet of over 2,000 ships. They were stationed at key points throughout the galaxy, ready to respond to any threat. "We have reports of pirates near the outer rim," one of her officers reported. "Send a squadron to deal with them," Su Jin ordered. "Make sure they understand that piracy is no longer tolerated in this galaxy." The human response to crime and aggression was swift and decisive. Pirates, raiders, and other troublemakers quickly learned that the galaxy was now protected by people who did not negotiate with criminals. Admiral Taman oversaw the construction of humanity's deep space exploration fleet. These ships were designed to explore the regions beyond the old galactic borders, looking for new worlds and new opportunities. "The first exploration group will launch next month," he reported to Admiral Kehoe. "They will investigate the reports of habitable worlds in the distant arm." Kehoe smiled. "Good. It is time for humanity to continue growing." The exploration ships were different from the old human vessels. They were not disguised or hidden. They were clearly marked as human ships, with advanced weapons and technology that announced to anyone who saw them that Earth's children were now the dominant force in the galaxy. As the camera pulled back to show the scale of human operations, the true extent of their success became clear. Human stations orbited important worlds throughout the galaxy. Human ships patrolled every major trade route. Human colonies were being established on worlds that had never been settled before. The species that was supposed to be conquered had instead become the conquerors, but they had done it in a way that made the galaxy better for everyone. Council Speaker Tisara, now serving as an advisor to the human government, watched a group of young humans and aliens working together on a science project. The cooperation between species that had once been enemies was remarkable. "How did you do it?" she asked Admiral Kehoe. "How did you turn a war into a foundation for peace?" Kehoe considered the question. "We prepared for the worst, but we planned for the best. We built weapons that could destroy our enemies, but we also built ideas that could unite our friends." The final scene showed human exploration vessels disappearing into hyperspace, heading toward unexplored regions of the galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as weak and primitive was now leading the galaxy into a new age of discovery and expansion. The narrator's voice delivered the final message. The Galactic Council believed they were conquering a primitive beast species. Instead, they discovered that Earth's children had been preparing for their arrival for 50 years. The aliens came seeking to claim humanity's worlds. They found that humanity had already claimed theirs. The warning had been given. It had been ignored. Now the galaxy belonged to humanity, not through conquest, but through preparation, wisdom, and the uniquely human ability to turn enemies into allies. The humans had not just won a war. They had won the peace that followed, and that peace would last for generations to come.